We're just weeks away from the Dallas Cowboys kicking off their 2023 season against the New York Giants. But before we can get into regular season football, we have two more preseason games. We'll get to watch these young guys fight for their spot on a talented Cowboys roster. Some young guys are already safe, while others still need to prove that they belong. So in today's video, let's talk about who needs to play well during the Cowboys Week 2 preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks. Let's get into the video. Once again, we are talking about the Cowboys' second-year receiver in Jalen Tolbert, the South Alabama product. Last week, we saw Tolbert make some very nice plays. Although it didn't count, he had an incredible grab on the sideline, he had a touchdown catch on a nice little seam route, and overall, he looked like the player we had hoped for when he was drafted. But for us fans and coaching staff to feel comfortable with him as the fourth receiver, I want to see that confidence and play carry over week after week during the preseason. I have been thoroughly impressed with Jalen Tolbert throughout Cowboys camp, and I want to see that consistency carry over because that's what makes you good in the NFL. We talked about it in my last video, which you should check out after this one. DeMarvion Overshown had a pretty nice game his first time in a Cowboys uniform. You could see the athleticism. I thought that his processing of the game was better than expected, and the physicality was very good as well. But this is another guy that I want to see do it again. Consistency is the most important factor from game to game, and seeing Overshown take another step forward would be big for a thin Cowboys linebacker group. I don't think many of us expected Overshown to get a ton of snaps on this really talented Cowboys defense, just given how raw of a player he was coming out of college. But if he can continue his good preseason, we could be seeing him a lot more when the real games roll around. The talk of the Cowboys preseason so far has been Deuce Vaughn, and for the right reasons. Deuce absolutely showed out in his first game as a Dallas Cowboy, looking fast, explosive, agile as hell, and overall showing off his skill set that allowed him to dominate in college. But like many guys on this list, one preseason game isn't going to get him a significant role on this team. Although I do believe that Deuce is completely safe in making the Cowboys 53-man roster. But the reason he finds himself on this list is because he has a legitimate chance to win that running back 2 spot, and another good preseason game will do just that. One thing I'm going to be paying close attention to is where he plays through this running back rotation. Last week we saw Malik Davis get the start, Rico Dowdle in the second quarter, and then Deuce in the third quarter on just about 2 drives. Could that change this week and we see Deuce get the start in front of Davis and Dowdle? I don't know. But if he does, that says a lot about what the Cowboys coaching staff thinks about him as a player. While he has already secured his spot, I think a really good game could give him a big push towards being this team's running back 2. And that's why I feel like he needs to have a really good game on Saturday. I thought that Deuce Vaughn would be the perfect segue into the next 2 guys that we're going to talk about. These guys are competing against each other to make the 53-man roster, and quite frankly, both of them need good games if they want to make this Cowboys team. Malik Davis and Rico Dowdle. With Deuce pretty much sealing his spot, these two are going to be fighting to make the roster, especially if Dallas insists on keeping a veteran back like Ronald Jones. Even with Jones likely out as well, Dallas could opt to keep just 3 running backs. That leaves Pollard, Deuce, and one of Davis or Dowdle. Last week we saw good things from both, but we also saw some negative stuff that could definitely improve to make the coaching staff feel a little bit more confident. Dowdle looked strong, explosive, and shifty, but ultimately fumbled at the goal line. Malik Davis had his moments as well running the ball, but didn't show off as much of his skill set. One of these guys is going to have a game that separates themselves from the other so they can solidify themselves on this Cowboys roster. I like to share my interest and passions with you guys. That's why I made this Cowboys channel. As a huge Cowboys fan myself, I am proud to announce that I have opened up a double move sports memorabilia store. High quality Dallas Cowboys sports memorabilia that you will love. autographed Jake Ferguson jerseys, a Sam Williams jersey, CeeDee Lamb. We're going to be adding tons of new stuff as well as the season goes on. So if you're like me and you love sports memes, head to the link in the description and the top comment on this video. Check out the website. We're just getting started. Since the website is completely new, I am giving you guys free shipping on all orders. Just use code DOUBLEMOVE at checkout. And thank you guys for trusting me with all of your sports needs. Double Move, where sports memorabilia takes the perfect route. Now, let's get back into the video. I feel like Kelvin Joseph's name has gotten lost in this team over the past few weeks of camp. I rarely hear his name brought up in positive situations, and for that reason, I have no idea where he stands on this roster. Joseph has been a cut candidate since the end of last season. Now a third-year second-round pick, it feels like the team is wearing thin on him being a playmaker for this team. And for that reason, he has to have a good game this week and next if he wants to secure a roster spot for sure. I want to be watching the game and be like, oh, wow, Kelvin Joseph is playing very good. It just feels like we haven't done that since he got drafted. Kelvin Joseph has guys on this roster that could easily take his spot and make him expendable for the Cowboys. So keep an eye on him during Saturday's game. Throughout Cowboys training camp, Jalen Brooks was a name that we heard of a ton. The young 7th round pick impressed everyone, including the head coach and quarterback. Last week, we talked about him as a potential breakout player in week 1, a guy that could cement his spot on this team with a good preseason performance. Unfortunately for him, that didn't come to fruition. Brooks was targeted 5 times in game 1, catching 1 pass for 3 yards. Despite catching just 1 pass, Jalen Brooks was the highest targeted wide receiver on the team. The lack of production could have been because of chemistry with Cowboys' 3rd-string quarterback in Will Grier. Because Brooks has been getting 1st and 2nd team reps throughout training camp. Grier and Brooks might have not had a ton of time playing together. They could have been out of sync, one confused with what the other was going to do. Whatever the circumstances were, Jalen Brooks did not have the game that we wanted. Ultimately, that led to a disappointing game for the young receiver, no matter who was at fault. We talked about it in a previous video, but a good camp alone for Brooks wasn't going to play him on this roster. He needed one heck of a preseason to make the team, and the first game wasn't a great start. But I think he can make up for it in week 2 with a solid performance. Throughout camp, he's shown the ability to make plays in the red zone, find chemistry with Cooper Rush, who should be playing a little bit longer in this game. So I do think that Brooks needs a good game, and I think he will. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to go down to the comments and the description and check out the new Memorabilia website. Thank you so much for all the support. I love you all. Bye.